inviting me here. Without a CV there, I'll just introduce myself. I was at sea for 22 years with the P&O Group. Then I went into the offices for 6 years and finished working there as a marine director. Then I moved into the insurance world, and I've been doing this job now for about 17 years. So I'm in my 46th year in the marine industry, which is, if you say it quickly, it's not too long. I hope you can all see the screen, because what I want to do is a role reversal in this. I want you to imagine you're sitting at my desk in London. You're getting reports in from surveyors, and they can take many forms. And I'm going to do some case studies. 2 vessels that are built and operated in the same country. Vessel 1 built 2010, 1,800 gross tons, and was listed with 5 hazards at survey. Vessel 2 was built in 2011, 1,500 gross tons, and was listed with 7 hazards. Now what I have to do with these is put them into some kind of format that is acceptable to our underwriters, so they've got a level playing field to work from. Now we asked the surveyors to rate 10 sections of a vessel, and this are the 2 for this vessel. Now you'll note on the 2010 built vessel, 3 sections were rated as poor. And for those of you who aren't aware of our system, we classify these reports, or these sections of the reports, in 5 areas. E is for excellent, G for good, S is normally satisfactory, but I've put OK here because it takes up too much space writing satisfactory in there. Then we have poor, and then we have D for dangerous. Now, these are the items we get. I'll move on to that. If you remember this, fire prevention and emergency response are poor, machinery is poor, and pollution prevention is poor. So if we look at the hazards that were listed, I don't think it's too important what they are, but they're not vitally important items. But you will note the ones I've written in red, there is nothing relating to machinery, even though he's rated it as poor. Now, when we get these reports, we identify these, we go out to the owners to rectify them. And I think if you're sitting in the desk, what are you going to say to the underwriter? These 2 vessels are a similar risk? Anybody that doesn't think they're going to be a similar risk to us, can you put your hand up and explain why? I think we're all pretty much in agreement. They look fairly similar. And you look at the 2 vessels. I've blanked the names out. These surveys possibly done by the same surveyor. So it's not the surveyor's fault. I'm not criticising the surveyor here at all. But when he's given 2 totally different entities to survey, effectively he doesn't know where to start with the one on the left. That's the wheelhouse of the 2 ships. The forecastle head. So you can see, I don't know whether you can see them clearly, but there is open belts driving the one on the left. There is no proper windlass as there is on the one on the right. That's the engine room. And the engine room, I suggest the one on the right is fairly standard. The one on the left leaves a little bit to be desired. Walkways are incomplete, there are no handrails down there at all. I believe from memory that it's a vertical ladder into that space. Effectively, it's a ballast tank with the engine put in it. So if we hadn't got these photographs from the reports that came in, we would not have a clue what we were advising our underwriters. Now, I think you all know that occasionally you go to ports where you can't take photographs. Now, I think the surveyor left it to our own devices to do this. We put so many warranties on here because it was already on risk until we could take it off. that I don't think they could have claimed for anything at all. Another case study here, 2 more vessels, again, built and operated in the same country. One is 2 years older than the other, similar gross tonnage. One has 15 hazards, the other has 18. Only the fire prevention and emergency response was rated as poor on this one. Everything else was satisfactory. And I'm not going to go through these. I think this is going to be made available to everybody to look at, to see what these are. But the items listed on the left aren't particularly serious. No save-all under the windlass, leakage of diesel in the machinery spaces, these sort of things. It's not mega problems on there. That's the second page of them. I can get them on one page. And you look at the 2 vessels again. Okay, I've selected photographs where there is a similarity, which wasn't the easiest thing to do, so there are a lot more. The item on the left, now, I don't know whether this country is a signatory to SOLAS. These were both itemised as life jackets. Now, fair enough, the one with the light on the right-hand side is a proper life jacket. It's probably SOLAS approved by somebody. The one on the left is just a working buoyancy aid. It is not a life jacket. And this vessel does go out to sea. It doesn't just work in river estuaries. I think the deficiency that was listed here was that there was no ship's name stamped on the life belt and on the, they called them life jackets, the surveyors. So we need to, as I say, put everything on a level playing field for our underwriters. And without these photographs, that would have been totally impossible. Okay, these are just some other examples. You can have a look for yourself at most of these. I've paired them up so that they're all built and operated in the same country, and they're all of a similar size as you go through. And I think, I mean, if you see some deficiencies, please point them out, but it will take too long to go through all of them. The one on the left is actually a dredge barge, and if you walk out of the accommodation, and people do sleep on there and cook on there, you sleep, walk out of there, you go straight over the side. There are no railings, there is nothing. It's just an accident waiting to happen, as we call it. And the other one, I hazard to suggest, is probably a fairly conventional vessel that we would all expect to see and wouldn't mind insuring. No maintenance. There are no seals in any of the doors on these vessels, by the way, which is why the weather gets in. The galley is a steel box on the deck for the one. The other one is a conventional galley. 3 years difference in those switchboards, and that is the main switchboard on that vessel on the left-hand side. Clearly these vessels have been built with second-hand equipment when they've been put together. Possibly the hull is new or relatively new, but everything that goes inside it is second-hand, probably from scrapyards. But that wasn't mentioned by the surveyors at all. That's the emergency generator, or in fact might be the main generator on each of the 2 craft. And as I say, they are a similar gross tonnage. I put that photograph in deliberately because there is no lighting in the engine room at all. Some of the other photographs did have a wandering lead with a bare bulb in there, and that was the only lighting in the engine room. The one on the right, as I say, is a reasonably standard operation the way I see it. Again, this is the engine room. You can see the oil in the bilges. There are no railings, there are no floor plates. People have to climb around there. If you look at the right-hand side of the one on the left, you can see the open drive belts that are used there. So, you know, people struggling to find their feet in that, the oily situation. Again, all of these are accidents waiting to happen. This is a very different operation and a very different case study. It's built in 1994. It's a large freight ro-ro that we're looking at here. And it was a report that we received in January, or written in January 2014. The report on the entire fleet of 23 vessels was 87 pages long, and it was broken down into an overview, and the fleet overview comment on stability was more than a page long. This is fleet-wide. I won't go into the details of it. I think these are going to be made available to everybody. I don't want to rush too quickly, but if you want any questions, if you want to clarify anything, please ask. In the conclusions, this was of the fleet, this was the comment here. Stability is a major concern on the large ro-ro cargo ships and to a lesser extent on the ferries, although the company has the facilities to address this issue, having modern cargo handling equipment. The stability condition of the cargo ships has to be known prior to departure to ensure there is sufficient GM. I should point out that this surveyor is not only supplying this report for insurers, he's also helping this owner to get his ships into an acceptable condition. So he's trying his best, shall we say. Then, fleet-wide recommendations. This was the note on stability, and it was dated to be closed out by the 30th of March 2014. I think that tells us the importance of this particular issue. I won't go through what they have to do, it's a bit too long. And the 23 listed hazards, the very first hazard I'll read out, the rest I've just put the headings in. No stability calculations might be made by the chief officer. He has no idea of the ship's stability condition. Dates, events and actions. We got the report January 2014. February 2014, Vessel 5, which is this one, dry docked for special survey under an IIMS member. March 2014, we terminated the entry of this vessel after a follow-up survey. We didn't insure the whole fleet, we only insured part of the fleet, and we terminated the cover due to concerns for the safe operation of the vessels. It wasn't just stability, there were lots of other issues. And the next date I have, which finishes my slides, that was September 2014. There was no loss of life, I hasten to add. So we do listen to the surveyor's reports. You are our eyes and ears on the ground, and we are very grateful to that. This didn't cost us a penny because we had terminated the risk. And it's capsized. Fortunately, as I say, there was no loss of life. And that's about it. If there's no questions, I've rushed through a little bit, but I don't think there's much point pausing on those photographs. They speak volumes. And as I say, I'm not blaming the surveyor, because you give him the poorer two options to survey, he doesn't know where to start. He would be into the hundreds of deficiencies if he was trying to mark them as if it was a standard SOLAS vessel operating in normal trading. So I think he did his job by sending us the photographs, so there is no criticism aimed at the surveyor. But please be guided, and if you're on a terminal where they can't take photographs and you find something like that, then we do need something in writing. Most of the surveyors we use, and quite a number of you in the room here, are well aware of our requirements and the type of ships that we insure. And we would be very happy if you walked off that ship and said, this is not the type of tonnage that you should be insuring. You know, we don't act as the international group of P&I clubs. We are fixed premium, and we don't get a second chance. We can't put everybody's up with a general increase. We have to suffer these losses, and we really don't want them. So you really are our eyes and ears on the ground for your work. I thank you for that.